Ms Patel, we're here to talk about county lines, something that's grown up on a massive scale. It is founded on the ruthless exploitation of vulnerable people up and down the country. Now, cross-country drug dealing, cross-country criminality is nothing new, but this is something that's very much emerged over recent years, both in terms of scale and the ruthlessness of it. It's emerged over a time over which the Conservatives have been in power. Do you think the Conservatives bear any responsibility for the scale of this trend and the way in which it's emerged?
Well, I tell you what we all have responsibility for is to get on top of the scale of county lines drugs. And it's a fact that criminality evolves, crime changes. That's why the nature of policing has changed, as you've seen today with the raid that we saw when we went out earlier on. But actually with the scale of this particular operation, where we've got various police forces. We've got Merseyside Police, North Wales Police, we've got BTP. I was also out with BTP last week as well. Policing has had to change because of the type of crime that we are now seeing. And we've got to recognise as well, the type of crime that we are seeing isn't necessarily all homegrown. A lot of this is coming in from outside of the United Kingdom, with drugs being brought in from different parts of the world, with criminals who, yes, are exploiting our children, who are absolutely ruthless in the techniques and the approaches that they're using. And they're abhorrent, they're absolutely abhorrent. Anyone that's followed county lines will know this. But at the same time, we have got to start working together to cut the head off the snake, and that's organised criminal gangs, serious organised crime, much of this which permeates from outside of the UK, and obviously is exploiting networks that are now developing, county lines, telephone lines as we know, but then obviously the other networks with children and the exploitation that we see. The other point to make is that crime knows no boundaries whatsoever. There are no borders when it comes to crime. And that is, I think, what we've seen today in terms of the operations, the fusion of various police forces coming together, the people, the skills, the techniques, the empowerment to get out there and tackle, roll up county lines as we've seen this morning. But with that as well, it also means that policing, quite rightly, has to be agile, it has to be responsive. And yes, it's about officers on the beat, but also how intelligence, information, different aspects of the police system, different aspects of the criminal justice system as well, come together to make sure that we can absolutely target these ruthless, absolutely ruthless individuals that are bringing harm to our communities up and down the country.
As you say, it's a significant problem and it's one that needs tackling. It is an international issue as well as a national issue. This morning we've heard that Merseyside is one of the main hubs in the country for county lines operations, and resources to tackle it in this area are obviously crucial. Now, over the past 10 years, Liverpool Council has had more than £436 million in funding cuts, Merseyside Police more than £130 million. That's money that could be going into community centres, Sure Start centres, officers that are gathering the intelligence that you refer to that potentially tackle this problem at source. Now, the Home Office has got £20 million to tackle county lines. That's what's been allocated to it. Against that backdrop, is that not just a sticking plaster to cover a gaping wound?
Definitely not. Absolutely not. If you look at what is going on right now in county lines, you've seen a police operation this morning, which is quite unprecedented in ways of working and the approach that has been taken into tackling county lines. You've seen officers basically put themselves at risk to go into, a source property, basically, to go out across the region to tackle county lines. Now, quite frankly, we have, rightly so, put £20 million into county lines, and Merseyside Police have benefited from a significant amount of that money, and there'll be naturally more to come. There'll be more to come because of the scale of this epidemic, the scale of this problem. And I actually think we all have to wake up and realise what is going on when it comes to county lines, yes, the networks across the country and internationally upstream outside of the United Kingdom, the people that are shipping their drugs into the UK and using and exploiting vulnerable kids, basically our children, to go out there and deliver drugs and cause the havoc that we're seeing across communities. But you're right, there are many other aspects here. We've only seen the policing side of things today, and I'm responsible for the policing side. So obviously we are surging police resources right now. I've been discussing with the chief this morning everything in terms of the recruitment of new police officers, the retention of police officers, but also the training, the equipment, and how Merseyside police officers are supported to address the real types of crime that are taking place everywhere else. But there's more to it than just the policing side. As you have said, there are issues in terms of youth provision, mental health provision, drug rehabilitation. All of that has to be brought together. And I can tell you now, this is exactly what we are doing now within this government, a new government. And this is exactly what's been discussed this week, actually, in government, and how we're going to be working across, not just government departments, but importantly, across our community and across our partners and different aspects of, whether it's social services, whether it's education, different aspects of the state, to absolutely look at what we can do to provide support in communities and tackle, yes, the county lines issue, but to make sure that we can safeguard our children, look after the health and well-being of young people, vulnerable people, but actually invest in many of those communities that have, quite frankly, been neglected and left behind.